G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. So obviously last week we got half the intercooler done, so kicking it back off this week. We have got some more parts to continue the job. I think I have everything I need now. So I'll show you what I've got and we'll get ripped in. Right, so just to recap from last week, we obviously got the hot side done. So Justin had taken that home to final weld because we ran out of time during the weekend and he just had to go. So obviously that was on the Sunday, and then on the Monday I came in and started doing the fuel system. So that's about where I got it. Fuel rail on, feed lines done, turbo drain half done. So obviously Tuesday at work, Justin's brought in the finished hot side. That definitely fits, so all good there. So today he'll be doing the hot side, and then he just has to final weld the pipe to the intercooler on this side, but obviously we'll be welding some hot side to that too, so that'll all come out and get welded all at once. Obviously waiting on parts to get throttle body sorted. I'll show you what we've done there. All right, so this is pretty much the whole solution all in one package. So I sort of just played with it in stages. So thanks to, I think his name's Josh, Custom Alloy Welding. He made me an adapter bracket. Saves me having to screw around trying to do it. So that's an awesome bracket. Tilts the inlet and everything, does everything it needs to do. One thing it doesn't do, however, which is not his fault, he's obviously made this originally for probably like one of his plenums or something like that. Problem with it is, right, so obviously the adapter plate would screw into the plenum here, but because Plasmaman, it's 100 by 100 plenum and the bolt holes are like 66 by 66, but they've moved that all the way this way and all the way this way. So if you can see here, that just sits past here still and it just touches on the plenum. So if we go bolt in just to line it up, so what ends up happening is with that lined up, it just touches there. So all I've got to do is just give that the tiniest bit of clearance, because it's like 2 millimeters maybe. So I'm just going to whiz a bit off the throttle, start with that before I go whizzing down the plenum, and see if that helps. All right, so not sure if I captured it properly before, but basically it's just that little lip. So I'm hoping that there's nothing important in there. Hopefully that's just a little bit of bracing. I'll whip this spacer off the throttle first so I don't put a big gouge through that or anything. The other thing I forgot to do, I do have a BA gasket, but I definitely forgot to order an FG throttle gasket. So I'm going to get some of them ordered today as well. And now that Justin's here at work, I can actually zip off and go pick them up, so I don't have to wait for them. All right, I'll try and keep it all in one spot and try and do this as neat as possible, but we'll see how this goes. Now it's the first time using a alloy die grinding bit. Let's try not to lose an eye. Oh mate, have you ever used an alloy die grinding bit? They eat it up bad. They go through that like a hot knife through butter. All right, let's test fit this again. This is going to be a case of 15 test fits. Now also this may hit here, but I'm guessing it's just far enough away and it just curves enough to pull away enough to where it won't hit, but we'll find out. The other problem I'm running into as well is these bolts he supplied. There's just not enough thread engagement for the plenum. Like they stick out and it doesn't do up because the Plasmaman bolts don't have through holes and they're not very deep. So I'm gonna have to take a bit off the end of that bolt. All right, so I have given that throttle body a good clean because it was very slimy. So I got sick of getting covered in slime. So I've given that a little bit of a touch up. I will test fit that now. But what I was gonna say was, I also got one of these Airflow throttle clamp on adapters. So what I was getting at here, sort of a little bit all over the place here with my video, but let's say you have that sitting roughly like that, and then that over the throttle that way. It ends up being quite a fair bit shorter than the BA throttle without the adapter. So that'll free up a little bit of room to make that bend and stuff a little bit neater for the cooler piping. So obviously that comes with its O-rings and stuff to get that dialed. Now, AFI hardware, got some injector pins, so I can redo my injector harness. Obviously those plugs were all broken, so got some good ones. So AFI hardware usually have good quality stuff. So next thing is new PSR 50mm BOV. It's basically just a BOV 50mm. They come with a weld-on flange, so we'll get Juzzy to weld that on while we're doing the cooler piping. That's about it. Now got the throttle adapter harness, Airflow as well. So my plan is to snip it here and just crimp that directly onto my existing harness. instead of plugging it in, extending it, and then plugging it in and having 100 extra plugs in the bay. Don't need that. Obviously needed to use one of these for work during the week, so had to go get another one. So nitrous bung slash pre-intercooler boost bung. Now this is orb fitting to go into that speed flow fitting in the sump to dash 10, 8 to 10. Now they didn't have any male to female 45s, so I've got a female 45 to a male straight, which will actually extend it out that little bit further than what I probably needed. So just in case I was coming up short anyway, that will be great. And got the injectors back. They all passed, new O-rings, so all dialed in, ready to go. So we'll probably get back into fitting the throttle so Justin can keep fabbing the cooler piping. Alrighty, so that's just touching still, so I just need to go a little bit more, but it's fully bolted up with what looks like no gaps, so I will take that a little bit more off. Underside is touching. Oh, no, I think, all right, not touching, but we'll see if that's still the case once we do that final clearance. But if that does touch, we'll have to should be able to just take a bit off the bottom of the plenum. It's not like it's going to do anything, so that should be fine. But I do believe that's clear, just clearancing. I could chuck a feeler gauge or something through there and see if it is actually touching once I've got the top fully clearanced. All right, latest iteration. I believe it's fully clear now. It does look like it's touching from the back, but when you look through this way, I'm pretty sure it's clear the whole way. I will run a feeler gauge down there, just make sure it is fully clear. It will also get a paper gasket in between, which, you know, it'll space it out. Probably not even a millimeter, but that should help too. So I'll run a feeler gauge down there, and then I'll run a feeler gauge down the bottom. See if that motor clears, but it is very much looking like it's fully clear. So I think we're on here. All right, so a 0.178 millimeter feeler gauge does fit, but it touches. But we've got a gasket still to go in here. So I think once the gasket's in there, we're sweet. So just going to fit the adapter now, and then Josie's going to keep fabbing. He's got the first half of the pipe in the works. And so I think I'm just in time to help him. Well, not to help him, but just in time to not hold him up anymore. All right, so I'm gonna need to come up with my own bolt for this side that goes through this spacer into the plenum. This adapter came with 5 bolts. One was longer than the other 4, but the 2 on this side that go into the plenum spacer is good. This one that randomly came with it is too long, so I'll need to take it as a sample and get one that's just a little 2 that are just a little bit shorter than that. I'll go down to the bolt shop maybe, but that is tight enough for Juzzy to fab. He's already here, so that was good timing. Well, of all the things to jam me up, I didn't think this would jam me up. FG throttle body gaskets are pretty much impossible to find aftermarket. Only option is genuine. Most people just gasket go them, but I actually want the gasket to give me the extra space. So I might have to just order a genuine Ford one and wait for it during the week. So at least we can get all the fab done and then I can just fit it later. But yeah, it's a bit annoying. But yeah, no one does them. I thought I'd be able to get one from Repco, but Repco lists the same part number for BABF. And as we all know, it's definitely different. There's the stance. So while Justin's doing that cooler piping, look at that paint. Anyway, while he's doing that, I'm absolutely over-engineering this bracket that I'm making for my fuel reg and flex sensor. So my plan is to have that spacer there effectively. This then will go, that just needs to be made shorter. That will then mount those two together. And then between the fitting and the bracket, that'll make that pretty solid. Then I just do 2 riv nuts in the guard and mount the reg in the guard, and that'll just be a through bolt. So I'll weld that tab to that tube so it's nice and rigid, and then do probably another riv nut there. Alrighty, so bracket looks roughly like that. And I'm just gonna weld that little bit of alloy tube to the bracket, and then just drill my 2 holes, and that will bolt through on the top and bolt together at the bottom. Simple. All right, rather than moving the welder back into the welding room, I've built myself a makeshift welding table. So just going to try and stick that together and see if I remember how to weld alloy. Yep, immediately blew a hole in that thing. Right, so I definitely had the torch pointed a little bit much at my little spacer. So I'm going to aim it a little bit more at the base material. I was like 5% throttle and that fucking blew through both of them. Okay, I probably had to turn it up too high. It works, it'll work, it just looks a bit gross now. So, she does look a little agricultural, but probably just gonna take that top edge off that
and make a curve on that and she'll look normal again. So yeah, we turned the welder down a bit, but it's still 10% pedal. She went straight through, so doesn't look so bad from this side. It's gross, but once you flip it, it's really gross. So I'm just gonna hit it with a belt sander and see how good I can get that to looking. All right, I somehow managed to pull this one out of my ass. So that was that really gross side. Once painted, looks pretty uniform now. Not too bad. I'll just drill that out and then should be good. Good enough. Anyway, all it's got to do is hold a bloody flex fuel sensor. All right, so I'm just gonna start on my oil drain while Juzzy's got it in the air. So obviously we just need to close that gap. So let's get all the pieces out and see if that's gonna work. Alrighty, so that is, the bendy hose is not the neatest. I probably actually do need to just get a male to female 45 to make that little bit shorter. At least now I know exactly that I can go shorter than what I have. I was actually worried getting a male to female wouldn't be long enough, but now that it's all fitted, I definitely know that I can take some length out of that and get rid of that male to male, female to female, and just go with the male to female, and that'll probably fit perfectly. So I'll deal with that another time. We'll just make sure it doesn't leak first. Alrighty, so I've got one riv nut done on this reg. It sits nice and tucked. All parts of it are going to clear everything. Obviously that second mount will be good. It's just going to touch. By the time that pulls in, be all good. Then obviously I've got my little bracket to assist the mounting of that. So that'll be all good there. Now you will just be able to see the pressure here from the top, like if you need to, but obviously with the sensor there as well, I don't really need to use that gauge much, but at least it's easier to adjust right here now compared to all the way at the back of the engine on a funny angle where you can't fit an Allen key or anything. So we'll make life easier adjusting fuel pressure if I ever need to again. And it does tuck in nice under the everything here, so it'll be right out of the way, keep all the wiring nice and hidden. Obviously this harness will just come down and plug in, so that'll not be a drama, that reaches. So that's all good there. That'll just get tucked away a little bit neater. Just gonna pull the throttle body off just so I can get better access to drill that second hole, which is what Justin's doing all that piping. All right, do I absolutely love it? No. Do I like it? Yes. So, obviously, pull this hose out of the way. Pressure sensor just on the return to the reg mounted, flex sensor mounted to the reg. Everything is like one rig, so it's not going to put any stress on that 90. That 90 is also structural. That adds support to it. I could probably go from here to here as well, just to add more support, but I'm not going to. If things start loosening off while the engine's running or anything, maybe I will, but given the fact it's body mounted, not engine mounted, it should be right. Pressure sensor is all clear of the body. It's not going to touch on anything. All the harnesses didn't need to get extended, which is great. Now it's just 2 straight shots for the -6s. So obviously we go rail to here and then here back to the tank. Right, my next issue is I couldn't get an FG gasket. So, because I also needed that little extra millimeter just to clearance this. So I'm just gonna cut like where the bolts go on that and then stick it down to the throttle body with some Loctite 515 before I fit it. And then that should be all good. As long as, yeah, I stick it down, it should be all good. Right, so effectively that's clear everywhere. Bolts will go through. Still seal, still space, perfect. All right, so that'll be this one's my return to tank. So that pulls it away from the shock tower enough. I should shoot it straight over the top of that tank, and then I'll do a 90 straight down into the top of the tank. And then this one, I've used a 45 to try and pull it away from the guard. That'd be very hard to show that on video. Trying to pull that away from the guard, but I think a 45 is too aggressive, and I should have probably should have gone with a 30. So Monday I might go and get a 30-degree fitting there. It just comes too far away. I'd rather have it sort of shoot that direction. A straight will put it sort of directly into that. So I think a 35 and then and then that'll come straight to the middle of the plenum there. So I'm thinking, yeah, if you look at the 45, it's got to go to right here. So I think the 30 will probably do a more of a straight shot. So this week when doing this hoses, I'm using my clear tape, which is much thinner than electrical tape, and will make life much easier to put the fittings together. Right, I also used one of these for the first time, which is what helps you put the olive on. First fitting done, that'll go to the surge tank and up and over. Then I'll route that to the flex sensor. Right, so that's the 180 on there. Probably just gonna send my phone up there to see what it looks like. So I think that is too sharp, and it doubles back and it touches the top of the, it's gonna touch the top of the tank. So I think the 120 will be best. All right, started again at the other end with the 150. So we'll whack that on the surge tank and then route that up to the flex sensor and fit the, I think it's a 45. All right, development. It's easy to go between those two rubber hoses. That's easy to get to. Then just gonna run around the tank. And then I didn't realize it's actually really easy to get to it from here. And that'll just be a clean shot right there into the flex sensor. So I'll give that a snip and fit that last fitting on it. All right, final tighten of that. Fitting is all done. So that hose runs down there to surge, all good, plugged in. Everything's good, just got to connect that pressure side to the rail, and then injectors back in, injector plugs, and then that fuel system is wrapped up. So Justin is just finishing off all the cooler piping, but I'm probably going to head home now, bring some cars in, pack up and head off. Tomorrow I will get this whizzy down and painted, fit all the cooler and piping final. I've painted all the stuff black that needs to get painted, and yeah, we should hopefully have the car running by tomorrow. All right, so that's where it connects to the turbo, runs down. Now, this took so long to get all these angles right and to keep it all tucked and neat. So that comes up to the throttle body, hides the bob in under it. We've got a bung for nitrous hiding under there, ready for the nitrous shot.
Righto guys, so we are back for day 2, which is really day 5 of this intercooler install, but day 2 of this weekend in this video. So got the intercooler fully fabbed yesterday finally, so Justin is off the hook now. So everything else is on me to get done. So what I'm going to start with today is going to wire wheel the battery tray area, get that surface rust out of there and give that a quick coat of paint, and then start assembling everything fully for final fitment and start wiring indicators and all that sort of stuff and get everything totally dialed in. One thing I was sort of talking about yesterday was I wasn't sure what angle I wanted to run on this fitting here, but I'm actually wondering if I can just run a 90 down, because I've already put a 90 on my -6 hose, which I was going to use on the surge tank. So I've already wasted a 90 fitting. I reckon I can just go straight down off that fitting, double back to the rail, instead of waiting till tomorrow and getting a 30-degree fitting. Because once it's 90 down, I can put this at any angle I want, sort of left, right. So I'll be able to do my 30 degrees as well as go straight down. So that should actually sort me out. Either way, we're going to start with this area here. So should be right. I'm going to move this earth. This was this earth I did for the trans fan. I ran it down with the engine earth. It's in a stupid spot, so I'm going to shorten that. It was because I made a harness, like it's in braid sleeve, so I didn't really know where to put it, but I can actually shorten that and just earth it down here or something. Given the fact as well that I need to re-earth this as well, the main harness earth, I might earth them together. So that should be all good. All right, I'll probably, to be honest, disconnect these right out of the way, just so that's not in the way at all. They're just the constant power for the fuel pumps, so I'll just tuck them up out of the way, just so they're fully out of the way and not going to get in the way at all. I'll move that earth, and then everything else should sort of tuck out of the way enough for while I'm just hitting that with a wire wheel. All right, that earth is now out of the way. Just had to move that power steering harness out of the way while I was doing that bolt, but that can go back on. Now let's just using a green spinny thing. Let's see how this works.
These fuses are a little bit in, oh sorry, these relays are just a little bit in the way, but I think I'll probably be all right. All right, so that's taken most of the top layer off. It hasn't gone through the primer or anything on the car, but I might hit those with something just where it is bare metal, just with something a little bit more abrasive. I'll just quickly do down on the chassis rail here as well. Wire wheel. I'm going to run it backwards just so it's a little bit harsher on the wires. I'll do that right here and just see if it cuts through that rust a little better. All right, that's probably good enough. Going to hit that with an air blower, get rid of all the dust, and then wipe it down. Do it a little bit sparse on the first coat. Now I'll get that all painted and then I'll start on the injector wiring so that can all dry before I need to touch anything here. All right, so that's sort of 3 coats now. Looking pretty good. Let's check back in on that when it dries and goes a little bit more or a little bit less glossy and see if that actually looks all right. Right, just doing some quick maths to work out exactly how long these bolts need to be, because the threads in the plenum itself aren't very deep on this side. They're only like tiny. So I worked out this back edge, like the thickness of this is 11.8 and then it's 8.8 into the base of that hole. So what I'm saying is the bolts stick out. It's like less than 1/2 mil that I still need off this. Instead of just grinding these down I'm just gonna machine down some washers. So I'm gonna stick that in the drill, machine down the outer radius of those washers so I can use washers under those 2 bolts because these washers are just too big to fit in the hole. So that'll go in the drill, that'll go in the belt sander, that'll get linished down to the size of that bolt head, then the same size as the bolt head, and then that will all fit, washers in the hole, bolts, and then we're all good. So obviously I measured it on a smoother bench than this, but effectively, just for demonstration purposes, it's like 11.4. It was 11.3 on my other stainless steel workbench, and then 8.1. So it's like about 3 mil. So I have just over, once these are bottomed out into the manifold, there was like just over 3 mil gap between the manifold and the bolt head. So yeah, that's why I'm using the spacers. All right, with that all pulled apart, washers now fit, nice and easy. Nice and easy. Well, that one might need a little more. All right, bolt and washers are in, they still sit in, and then that should be enough stick out to have good engagement, but not too far to go bottom out. I have also machined about as much as I'm comfortable machining off this. Now it comes very close to touching here, and it's very close to touching here. I'm just going to take one quick pass off here and one quick pass off here, just to make absolute sure that it's not going to impact it, and it will 100% sit flush. Now I'm not going to fit the throttle body yet. I'm going to make my last fuel hose first, just because the throttle body will get in the way of that. And I'd prefer to fit the spacer and the throttle body quickly so that I can do all the bolts up while the 515 is still setting. So I don't want to put the spacer on first, let that set, just in case it's not perfectly lined up with the bolt holes for the through bolts that the throttle body goes through. So I'll do all that later, so we'll come back to that. I'll make that fuel line now. Actually, I think I was doing the injector plugs first, but I'll make that fuel line first, so at least that completes the fuel system. Also, because I'll do the injector plugs when the fuel rail's out, make it easier. So I'll make that hose first. Well, who didn't see that coming? Broke my dipstick again. So I tried the 90 at the reg end. It really didn't want to work. It was looking pretty messy. So I'm actually going to try the 90 there and run it over the top of the manifold and then loop it around. And then I might actually be able to get another 90 there. So if that 90 works, I just need to use another 90 and then we're good. All right, I'm just going to try and get this started on the rail, but I broke my dipstick. Half the battle is getting the PTFE hose to bend the way you want it. It doesn't like to twist. It bends fine, it just doesn't twist. So I've got the 90 started on the rail. That's pretty clear of everything. It's got good clearance to that runner. That plug obviously won't be there when the throttle body gets rewired. That'll be totally out of the way, so ignore that. Ignore the tissue. There's nothing touching that. That's well clear of that. That'll then come down here, and then you'll probably exit this area here and turn. Just a little worried about that part of the manifold there is a little sharp, so I might die grind the corner off it. Then it'll turn. All right, so once it turns, oh, all right, it'll turn there. Right, under the AC line. Might go around the front of that actually, just to make that a less abrupt turn. But it'll then turn and go to the fuel fitting, which is right there. I can probably make that. I'll just go on the front side of this though. Probably be a better turn. All right, let's go back over this and then back around this. So it will come, probably should go under that little T-barb, under that it's sitting on. But for now, we can line this up with it sitting over it pretty easily. And then that'll easily meet our fitting there, right there. We'll go under the AC line as well. And that'll comfortably mate there. Oh, I've got another 90, so let's try that. All right, so that'll just go to that 90. Perfect. Let's just chop some of this excess out of the way. Actually, I don't really need to chop the excess. Let's just cut it to length. Because it goes the wrong way, it might just be a little bit long. Let's just imagine. Let's just go here. All right, so that's just a little bit longer than what I need. Chomp. All right, I'll pull this right out and I'll see if I can get it under here without kinking it too bad. I might pull this one out of the way first. I'll get that dash 10 undone so that I can lift it up without having to bend it so harsh. So the dash 8. So that'll actually tuck in under that. I don't need to die grind any sharp edges off that now. All right, so let's just line this up a little better and I'll get another piece of tape and cut that hose shorter and I'll pull it right out of the car. Alrighty, so final hose run is started. Obviously leave that loose, fit it to the car, tighten it on the car. Then everything is hunky-dory, so let's get this fitted. All right, fitted at the fuel rail end. Let's lift it up, run it down under this. Swing it around. A little bit more twist on that. Probably need to be on the other side of this. I don't think there's going to be a way to get a camera angle and do it up, so I'll just do it up. Righty, beautiful. So the turn runs along there with the harness under that bit of the manifold, loops around all these hoses and into the reg. Perfect, into the sensor, into the reg. Reg then goes through the flex sensor, back to the tank, surge tank. Fuel system is plumbed. Just got to remove this rail now and repin all the injector harness and extend the throttle harness plugs and change to FG style. So I'll get this rail off now and get all that started. All right, I'll just undo this back dash 8 and then I will unbolt the rail. Right, let's get 2 of these rail bolts out. That one's a little tighter. All right, fuel rail coming out. Now I will probably leave that connected, just tuck it out of the way for now. Something like that maybe. No, I'll undo it. It's just one fitting, I don't know what I'm thinking. Leave that connected, that makes no sense. Definitely forgot that I was gonna get a dash 6 orb to replace that. That was off the old fuel setup. Just has a dodgy taper, so definitely forgot that I was gonna do that. That is really annoying because I can't get one till tomorrow. All right, I do actually have a 6-6 orb that I had in my toolbox, which is brand new, but it was a 4 fitting. And I have a feeling it's gonna leak because I think that's why it got replaced. But let's use it for now because it's better than the other one. Tape is pretty good. So if it leaks, it's not the end of the world just to pull the rail back off. It should be okay to get in there. So I'm tempted to just switch it out maybe with the fitting at the bottom of the rail or something, just to make my life easier, but that's not gonna be any easier because that's all hard mounted now. Was just thinking switch it out with one of these orb fittings in the bottom of the fuel reg, but I'll see if there's any other ones in the workshop anyway that are brand new. Actually, on second thoughts, so this is the one that I'm replacing, a bit dodgy. So that was the one that I found in my toolbox, which I thought was a 4 one. But then I was looking at the dash 6 orb to dash 8 fitting that came with the Plaz fuel rail. The machining for them looks identical. So it's got a little radius on the top edge of that. That's got a little radius on the top edge, exactly the same. You can just see. The design is very similar. The triangles are rounded, whereas a lot of the other fittings, like that's Aeroflow, straight, no radius on the back face, but these both do. So I think it's actually a Plasmaman dash 6-6, so I probably will trust it. It's not a 4 one, so the 4 ones always leak from these tapers, so if that's a Plasmaman one, I'll just send that and see what happens. All right, so I've pulled up the compressor switch and the AC sensor, just to make life a little easier to get to some of these wires. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 injector plugs. This is the big TP, big throttle motor plug, and then that's the TPS there. So now that's a bit easier to sort of get to everything. So I'll start stripping all the factory sleeving off, and I'll de-pin them, and hopefully I can just put those pins in my new plugs. But if not, I'll crimp new pins on. Right, there's the yeet pile of crusty, sticky, brittle shit. So we've now got injector 6, injector 5, TPS, not throttle body motor like I said earlier, injector 4, I think throttle body power, injector 3, labelled, luckily, 3, 2, 1. So they're all exposed, ready to get repinned, retaped, everything. Now I was looking at maybe just changing the plugs, but that one's got green death in it. So, and then some of them have also got some of the, like this one, it's got exposed wire hanging out. So definitely gonna go ahead and chop all these down and crimp new connectors in all of them. Because I'm tucking all my injectors down, I'll have plenty of length, so I can shorten them a little bit. That won't cause any issues at all. And I'll be running all the injectors plugged down under the fuel rail. Already got my heat shrink, braid sleeve, extra wiring, taking my plugs off. Have confirmed with the car end, red with black and red is the same as the car, and then this one is on the car is actually yellow, and then it's brown, then it's grey with red, and then grey without anything. So nice and easy to remember the colours. They're pretty much the same. So I'll be going red for red, I use red on there, I use orange for yellow, grey for grey, black for brown, and black for red and black. So should all be fairly easy to make sense. And then obviously when these go into this, those are the 2 for the 2 pin, and then those are the 4 for the 4 pin. So easy to remember, they're separated in the plug as well. So I probably should have just plugged it in and tested the throttle first, but oh well, let's just dive into the deep end. Let's add all my extra wiring to this end and then see how long I need it. Just got the throttle dummied back up with the plug in, running the wiring this way under the manifold. Gonna pop it up here because these 2 plugs sort of meet in the middle anyway. So gonna end up sort of tuck everything else out of the way. This is my wires from my harness that I've been making. They'll come up here, they'll join those 4 wires and those 2 wires, and then they'll head down rather than coming all the way up the front and forward, because then that'll just be more crap at the front. So I'm gonna tuck it in down here. So just going to probably trim this probably about there somewhere, and then I'll separate them off into its own 2 strands. So I'll bring I'll probably do a heat shrink braid sleeve to about here somewhere. I might just add 1 more ring of tape just to know where to stop, and separate them there. So nice and easy. Those ones for the red and black, that's how long they need to be, and then these ones for the other 4 need to be that. So they will get all braided together at the first half of this loom, but then they'll split here. So I'm going to work on getting the first half together and then splitting it down here. Here we have the harness. It comes out with the 2 ends, so pretty self-explanatory. So everything's nice and neat, everything's pre-ready. Just gonna try and figure out exact lengths to make sure it's all good, and then get some braid sleeve ready for each side now to make sure that they're nice and covered, and then this should all be throttle body wise buttoned up in a second. A few steps. Here's the harness, goes into a twin, goes down to where they were from, that goes down here. So that is ready to plug in. It's starting to get late and my back is killing me, so I am gonna do those injector plugs tomorrow. So for now I'll probably button all this back up, get these fuses mounted again, riv nut that down, probably make the earth, change that other earth, get these factory style earths back mounted, and probably plug in the indicator for now. Just get that corner buttoned up, and then I'll be able to probably go home after that. Alrighty, so all the relays are back, fuses for the fuel pumps mounted with a riv nut in there. Just cleaned all the paint off that. That's gonna be my earth. Just cleaned the factory earth up, and I'm gonna add my trans fan earth there too. Might put a new terminal on that. They'll both go there. That'll bolt down through there with a nut and bolt, and that will probably have me sorted for the day. Alright, so that's all buttoned up good, but then I just started trying to plug in headlights. These fucking headlights that came off eBay, that I should have followed my own rule. Only ever buy used parts off eBay, don't buy new stuff, because they came with globes, LED globes. It's an FG plug on a BA headlight. That's not even close to, like, that's the Parker globe. Like, that is not gonna work. They're both male, so that's not gonna work. So anyway, I'm just gonna hardwire, like, make my own plug here. Probably try and get an FG plug or something, and then crimper to these. Like, yeah. Anyway, so I'm just gonna go home now. I'm gonna come back tomorrow. Gonna worry about the headlights another day, but tomorrow, fit the cooler, redo the injector plugs, and that's about it. Everything else is pretty much done. Obviously, all this wiring's all neatened back. All stuff's painted that has to be painted. Throttle body is already extended harness. So should be all good tomorrow for a couple of hours and then ready to start. And we're back day 3 of weekend 2, so day 6. Intercooler install, still not fit. Anyway, I have to issue an apology to the headlight guys who sold me these headlights, because I was absolutely raging that these didn't fit my harness, but it turns out I think Ford updated these at some point. It wasn't just an FJ thing. So I started looking into, you know, can you buy this holder? All I found on eBay, again, never trust eBay, but it actually saved my ass this time, an adapter harness, so which goes from that plug to that plug. So yeah, I've ordered that. It was $16 for a pair of them, so I'll put that on the screen. So if you do buy headlights that come with these, that's all you need to buy as well. So FYI, public service announcement. No faffing about today. Let's get these injector plugs swapped and get these injectors fitted and fuel rail back in the car. And I probably need to find where the end of my dipstick went. Could be on the ground. I haven't lifted the car in a while. So anyway, let's just get these plugs switched out. Should be fairly simple. They're not polarity sensitive. So chop, crimp, clip, plug, done. I will just quickly clip one of these onto one of my injectors just in case. Look, they look like they're Bosch style. They look like they'll fit, but let's just double check before I go changing all 6 of them and then finding out that they don't fit my injectors for some stupid reason. Alrighty, can confirm they do fit, so let's get stuck in. Now, pro tip, same applies with doing any other job that's a little tricky. Now, it's not tricky, but it can be tricky if you've never done it before. Like doing valve springs and stuff, same deal. Start with the easiest one you can get to, so you make sure you do it right. You got all the room and space and everything. Then, straight to the shittest one. Work your way forward so the job gets easier as you go, because you don't want to go harder and harder and harder as you go, because you just get frustrated. So yeah, always start with the easy one, work out how to do it properly, go to the shittest one, start there, make the job easier. As it goes, as the job goes, it gets easier. Alright, so I've got my braid sleeve and heat shrink ready to roll. Now, these wires do have a little bit of green death on them too, so I'm not loving life. I don't really want to cut these too short. I'm just going to crimp these on here. I'm a bit scared to keep cutting and see where it ends, because this wire especially is quite brittle. It even feels quite brittle back to here, so I'm guessing it's going to have oxidization all the way down. So we'll probably just leave it like that, and I mean, I'm not going to go rebuilding the entire engine harness just over something like this. I probably should, but I need to get this car running again, so at least might have a chat to Auto Lecky and see how bad it is to sort of leave it like that. Whether I do go to another harness or not, I don't know. But anyway, it's going to stay like that for at least the next little bit, and see if it causes me any dramas. There is something about a crisp crimp that is, I don't know. Anyway, probably looking at that in that magnified image, probably could have tucked those wires into the end of that a little bit better, or not pushed it in as far, but anyway, good crimp. Gave it the old pull test, all good. Alrighty, so here is finished product, heat shrunk down there, heat shrink, and then that silicone boot goes, I'm doing that over the heat shrink. Probably should go the other way, but my heat shrink's not that big, so it's got the boot on it to keep it protected from all the oil and stuff, and crimped in good. So now just gotta do that 5 more times and we're done. Alrighty, everything is crimped. Just gotta final set all the heat shrinks, and then that is done. That always takes way longer than you think it will. So, but we're making good progress. I think it's only about 9:30, so should be able to get a lot done today now that that is out of the way, because that was the one thing that I thought would slow me down the most. All right, they are all heat shrunk. Only had one slight miscalculation of length of the braid sleeve on the last one, a little bit short, but oh, it won't really matter. Should be all good. So let's get these injectors and rail in. Righty now, so prepping injectors to go back in, I am just gonna use some silicone spray on the O-rings. But what I will recommend to you, now I got these tested good. They didn't get ultrasonic cleaned or anything because they all flowed real good. So I will always recommend, well, before you refit injectors, go over these things with a light, with a fine tooth comb. Not saying whoever cleaned them or whatever didn't do a good job. It's just always a case of any debris gets in the top of these, you're going to block it, it's going to run lean, you're going to hurt an engine. Go over your injectors before refitting them. Make sure they are perfectly clean no debris in them, and then fit them, and then make sure, yeah, just double check everything, because that's going to cost you an engine if you just let it go. Also, I only messed up one crimp, so that's why you always give them a tug. Looked good, gave it a tug, fell off. So always give them a tug test. All right, everything is roughly pre-rotated to suit being hidden. So hopefully nothing's in the way of where their mounts have to go. So it should be nice and neat once it's all bolted up. I'm thinking I should probably put that dash 6 on here and start it, but considering I won't be able to tighten it till it's in place anyway, I might as well just, because I can get it started pretty easily. I think I'll fit the rail and then worry about it. All right, it's looking like everything's home. These look like they've gone on. Bolt holes are lining up. Everything's looking good. Let's do the bolts up. Now, having stumpy Allen keys is a must for these two bolts at least anyway. Oh boy, this is looking crispy. So other than that red starter motor wire, it's about the only thing that's sort of ugly now. I don't love this hose being on top, but I mean, probably in 6 months I'll have a Toomey plenum, so all this will get redone anyway. So at least the two dash 8 feeds should still work, but she's plumbed, ready to turn the key and leak check it. So hopefully no leaks, because basically I just replumbed the entire fuel system up to going back to the tank. All right, giving everything a little bit of a wipe down so it looks bloody beautiful. So I'm so happy with that. It's taken so long to get that really neat, other than just that one red wire really. And then obviously put the dipstick back in, but yeah, cannot wait to get this thing on the dyno and see what power we can make. All right, so I've pulled the throttle body back off again for the 50th time, just so I can leak check all that really good, get in there, and if anything needs tightening, it's just gonna be easier. So what I'll probably plug the throttle body in though. I don't know, it doesn't really think it's gonna throw codes or anything on a Haltech. It probably might say open circuit or something, but I can just clear it. But anyway, I'll key on and see if we have got a fuel system that does not leak. Not having high hopes, but I mean, I'm pretty sure I tightened everything, so let's find out what I missed. And no, I definitely did not forget that I pulled the fuel pump relay out, just so no one primed it while it was at work this week. So let's whack that back in. I'll run the fuel pump override just so it cranks the pressure, just so that it's, if it's gonna leak, I'd rather find out now before it's on the dyno or something dumb. Key on. Now I don't have a heap of fuel in the car, but I think it's 10% or so left. Given the fact I can't smell any E85 yet, that's a good thing. All right, fuel pressure, 35. Let's crank the fuel pump. All right, 60 PSI. Let's go look for some leaks. Still don't smell anything. It looks like it's flowing. Flex sensor. Nothing's wet. Nothing's wet. Nothing's wet. Nothing's wet. Nothing wet. Nothing wet. I'm gonna get a torch. Ooh, I'm starting to smell E85. Alright, I'm gonna... Oh, I do see something leaking. Oh, I never tightened that. Whoops. Yeah, let's turn this off. Never actually tightened that fitting. There we go.
What an idiot! Oh, what a loser!
There's always something you forget. I definitely forgot to tighten that, just because I can't get onto it with a normal spanner. I needed to get a crow's foot. Anyway, I'm gonna put the hoist up and just have a look at all the other fittings anyway, because if they're not wet, then we should be good. As far as leaks go, it's pretty small. So if that was properly leaking, it would have gone very bad, very fast. They look dry. Yep, they're good. No fuel there. So yeah, and the other spot to check is just that back 90, which looks dry. So that's positive. So obviously I will tighten that 90. It's just leaked onto the engine mount a little bit. Leaked on the ground. So we should be on here. Well, cut down 8mm spanner to the rescue, because I was able to get this down in here and get an angle on it. And she's tight, so let's leak check it again. One other thing I wanted to check was obviously with my flex sensor, I just wanted to make sure that it reads. So set that up, flex composition, 132 Hertz, 82% ethanol, beautiful. So I will need to reconfigure my dash because it just said ethanol low. So I might just connect to the dash and see why it's saying ethanol low. And we connected the Wi-Fi the other day, so we can hook to the dash read from the dash. Don't worry about saving that, I can save that later. So I'm also running the fuel pump prime, just so if there is a leak, I'll find it. So give it more chance to leak. All right, we wanna go functions, alarms, ethanol low, 78%. So it shouldn't trigger unless it's 78%. I'm gonna drop that down to 73. Clear after 30 seconds, just so it stays on for longer if it ever comes up. So obviously I also have a button to make it go away. So I found it would quite often come up when I put the ignition on first. I think it's probably because the sensor is wired to the dash. The dash takes a second to turn on. That might be it. It's also the shifter reverse is wired through the dash, so it doesn't always work straight away. Trans brake and stuff. Yeah, so it's probably just until I'd say it's because the dash is taking too long to send that signal to the ECU, so the ECU is already triggered, but it's low. That's weird. All right, let's go. Don't panic. All right, so I'll probably figure out a better way to do that later, but for now that'll work. So I just wanted to make sure that it's kind of pointless having that alarm and disabling it, because I just wanted to make sure that the only reason I put the flex sensor is just to make sure that if I ever get bad ethanol, like lower than 70% or something, I know. So I might actually just put like a tiny little number here or something that just shows me my ethanol percentage, just like the tiniest little number. So it's like not something you need to look at while racing, but just something that you need to look at after you refueled the car or something. So yeah, I'll probably disable that warning and just put a little number there somewhere. All right, so I ran my fingers across that, not leaking. Middle one has stopped leaking. Beautiful. Still no leaks from anywhere. So stick a fork in that. I'd say that's good to go. So I'll turn that off and let's finally fit this damn intercooler, and then I think we're almost ready to start it. All right, a little bit of 515 on the first gasket, and then let's fit the spacer. All right, can't really remember what I had filmed, so here's another update. So I obviously got the bolts all tight just to clamp that first gasket on. Then I just had lunch, so it's probably set over lunch. I'm now gonna pull that back off. Hopefully the spacer doesn't move or anything. Then I'll tighten those two inner bolts, make sure they're home, and then I'll try and fit this all with the clamp and everything. Now, I don't probably have the right size bolts, so I might need to match something up or head down to bolt shop and get something up custom. My next problem is I have no idea where these O-rings are supposed to go. You'd think they're supposed to go around here, but when you then put this sleeve over it, it looks like it'll just fall out. So that's definitely not supposed to go there, because that'll just blow out. So I'm thinking it's just got to sit on this front edge, which seems really shit too, because there's nothing really stopping it from like sucking in either. And then when it is on that front edge, these also look like they're not gonna, oh, maybe they will. Yeah, just looked like it was sitting up a bit. So it would have to absolutely crush that O-ring to fit, but it's not too bad. I suppose that's not too bad. There's a little bit of a gap, but it's not bad. So maybe we'll just do that. All right, was able to find some bolts that were a little long, cut them down. They're perfect, measured. They should have enough engagement, and also they should not be too long. So they're ready to go. They're the ones that come with the airflow kit. Gasket is good on the other side already, placed on the throttle body, so that should work. We'll find out. The only thing I'm worried about is just where these bolts go. It might not seal. I'm hoping just that little bit of goo right here should be enough, but we'll find out. Alrighty, so looks to be fully seated. Everything looks good, no wiggle or anything. And that O-ring is still seated, so I assume that's correct. So technically, I should be able to run the car now as is, but I probably won't. I'll get the cooler piping hooked up, and then I think I'll smoke test this and just make sure nothing will leak. It is Monday, so I could probably order an FG throttle gasket from Ford, but I might order one during the week just in case. I can always revise all this stuff later. Like, getting it all on and fitted is the hard part. Revising it later is the easy part. So let's just get this together and then figure out what I need to change. But I just need to make progress today. All right, just starting to feed the intercooler in. Just lowering the hoist. So there's a fair bit of room, so it's not too bad. Just 2 more inches to go and we should be home. Alrighty, so it's docked back in. Just tighten up those bolts, do up the lower bolt. Alrighty, cooler fitted for hopefully the last time. So just gonna start with the hot side. So just gonna pinch weld around these holes. I should have done this before putting the cooler back in, but anyway, I'll get this done and then I'll show you that with the pipe back in. Alrighty, got that edging in. Now, because there's a bolt hole there, that there's like a nut at the bottom, so it kind of comes out a little bit funny, but oh well, that'll clear everything I need. Alrighty, so I've just got the sleeve there already, this pipe now in place. I've got a lower sleeve on that one. I'll just start with trying to line up the top first, and then I might put a clamp on the top just to hold it, and then I'll line up the bottom. Alright, so top clamp's in. Obviously a bit of movement, which is good. So I'll lift the hoist and hopefully be able to get the bottom clamp on. Alright, looking like that's gonna work. I'll work the clamp on it. Alrighty, clamp tightened, still spins. It's nice and neatly in the middle of the hole, so Justin did a good job there. Alrighty, top clamp done, tight, both bolts tight, still spins. Now, can't forget to tighten the V-band for the turbo, because the turbo still moves a little bit, so I'll tighten that up now. Alrighty, V-band tightened up, so I'll probably leave that tape on there until I go to fit the intake, just in case. But this is now how it sort of looks. These are just zip tied up to sort of keep them out of the way. I may even leave the zip ties there just while it's, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, runs down nicely along this edge, doesn't hit anywhere, clears everything, it runs into the hole. Beautiful. So yeah, I will get this powder coated later, but I'll take the turbo cover off and everything, but I've got an event coming up in 2 weeks, so I just don't trust powder coaters to get it done in time. They have a habit of getting about and taking forever to do stuff. Right, I've got my edging on this hole, bloody beautiful hole. I'm just gonna clean up that little earth point with my little handy dandy wire wheel doodad. Look at that, bloody beautiful. Or a little bit more, I reckon. Right where the throttle body wants to sit in the way. I'll give the back side of that earth a quick polish too with that drill bit, just to clean it up and then whack it down. Oh, that comes up good. Alrighty, bolted down. So let's whack this piping in. Now I'm gonna deal with the headlight stuff later, just because I need to change that Parker loom anyway. So I'll plug all the headlights in later. For now, I'm just smashing to be able to get this thing started and drivable for the week. Alright, my bung's there, blocked up. No nitrous yet. I've got to do the BOV reference line and stuff. So I'll need to put a T-piece in. So for now, I'll probably just put the bung in the BOV and leave it at that for now. And I will plumb it in later as well. All right, BOV roughly mounted where I think it'll go, hopefully. It's still loose, so I can spin it, rotate it, whatever. I think that hole will work out better, and then it'll have the PSR logo roughly sitting upright. First pipe in, next clamp ready to go, should be good. Ready to roll. Put these here. Ready to lock on. Well guys, not enough swearing. Got it. Clamp tight, still spins. Clamp tight, still spins. Clamp tight, still spins. Well, it's not tight, but tight enough. Anyway, now I made sure I use the clean ones where you can see them. Dirty ones underneath. Bloody, she's plumbed, boys. She's plumbed. And the BOV is fitted already. Pretty stealthy. I might actually spin it and spin that line up to about there. Now I don't want to tee into the fuel reg, and I don't want to tee into the map sensor, so I might tee into this. It's just the EVAP line, so I'll try and rip that off and get a T-piece and tee it into that. Righto guys, outstanding. Now I've got to put the dipstick back in, but got to plumb the BOV, got to plug in the headlights, got to wire the indicators, got to put the adapter harnesses for the parkers, got to refit the front bar. But guess what? She's ready to start, so I'm going to start it and see if it starts. So that came out bloody beautiful. So let's turn the key, see if I've wired these injectors right. See how many cylinders we get. Or let's see if the battery's flat for sitting at work for 2 weeks. Oh. And the injectors just needed to oh, something went wrong. It probably stalled because TPS settings might be a little different, so I'll just do a throttle body calibrate. So what's it saying? Oh, they got code. Yeah, drive-by-wire, pedal sensor mismatch. So I'm just going to do a relearn and see if it keeps stalling. She's thinking. I'm assuming these voltages don't need to change because they look fairly basic, 0.5 and 4.95, but I think it's just got to calibrate its swings and everything and figure out what position everything is. Calibration good. Let's see if it runs better. Clear codes first. Battery voltage minimum, just because it's getting a bit low. Fuel trims aren't the worst. It is still in cold start, so we'll let it idle for a little bit, warm up, and see how it goes. I'm just going to need to get rid of that warning. Now I'll just hit my don't panic button. Alright, seems to be running alright. trim's coming better than 7%, 6% so far, so I think we're good here. Give it a few little, wait till it warms up and give it a few revs. I actually need to also check the oil drain is not leaking, so I'll just run it for a little bit and then go up on the hoist and check that. So hopefully I'm not pumping oil everywhere right now. Might actually turn it off now and go check because I forgot all about that. I doubt this will work on camera. I always try and film into a mirror, but never really seems to work. But dry as a bone, so no leaks from the top. We'll do a long-term reassessment after a week, see if there's any leaks. Bottom is also dry as a bone, not a drop, beautiful. So we'll do about a week test on that. Obviously I've cleaned the shit out of everything now. Might give it one last brake clean now while it's had a week or two to sit, and just really blast it with some brake clean and make sure that everything's dry as, so finding the leak if there is any will be real easy. Rightio guys, going to leave it here. Obviously car is still a little bit apart, but it's 5 o'clock and I want to get the hell out of here. That's another 30-hour weekend at work after a 40-hour week at work. So yep, 2 weekends in a row, so 60 hours to fit an intercooler. Well done Bentley, new world record. Anyway, next video hopefully on dyno, so I'll put the shit back together, you don't need to see that. Anyway, next video dyno hopefully, as long as nothing breaks in the meantime or starts leaking. Almost forgot to tell you to like and subscribe, thanks for watching, all that stuff, because I'm tired. Anyway, alright, thanks for watching guys, see ya.